I've got so much to cover today, I barely know where to start. Yesterday we started clearing out. We started clearing out the garden and started going through the process of clearing out the house. We got so much to do. I've got a lot to cover in this video and I'm going to have to talk fast. So yeah, yesterday we did some, I took a day off work. Did quite a bit of physical work. We moved our caravan. It was diagonally across our front lawn, has been for years, and the grass has all grown around it, so we needed to trim and everything else. So it was a good opportunity to test the electronic movers which clamp onto the wheels of the caravan to assist it moving. It's not brilliant. If it gets caught on a tussock of grass and stuff, it can get a bit difficult to move, so you still have to kind of push and pull physically with it. But anyway, yeah, it worked really well. I managed to line it up. Excellent driving, of course, using the remote control, and we've lined it up into the garden, so it makes the garden a lot bigger. We can actually now get 2 cars on the driveway if we wanted to, and then the caravan's all nicely lined up and it looks a bit more straight. Plus where stuff was growing up around the side of the caravan, we were constantly getting knocks on the doors from people, knocks on the front door from people going, "Oh, are you selling your caravan?" It's like, "No, we're not. Is there a for sale sign in the damn window? Go away." You know, and I've asked people around with other caravans and nobody else seems to get asked. We used to have a cover over the caravan which perished in the UV light. All the while that green cover was over the caravan, we never got knock on the door, but since the cover's been off, and of course the garden's been growing up around it, people have been banging on the door. So we've bought a new cover. It only costs about 100 quid, I think, so we managed to get that. So we're going to put that over when the weather starts turning. But for now, this is my studio, so I don't really want to cover over the top of it because I use the natural light in from the windows and everything else. Anyway, I digress. So yeah, what we did, I had the wheel clamp on the caravan, had to take that off. That had seized up, so a crowbar, a lump hammer, a bit of elbow grease and some WD-40. We managed to get that off without breaking it, luckily. I had to take that off obviously to move the caravan. Put all that back on, put some other security measures on as well, which is great. What else did we have? Yeah, so we trimmed all the front garden, made it look a little bit neater, loads and loads of brambles and stuff like that. So we've cleared the area so we can now walk all the way around the caravan, so I can put the battery in, I can check the gas flue and all that sort of stuff now and get it prepared for next year as well. So we think that's the way we're going. We're going to keep the caravan. It's a known entity. Better the devil you know. The tyres look all great. Everything in it works absolutely fine. So we're just going to get a tow vehicle. I've got a couple of ideas in mind. I'm not ready to tell you yet because I know what I'm going to get loads of flack. But you know, that's what the plan is anyway. So we're going to try and keep it cheap, but we want something reasonably good and nice. The other issue we had yesterday was the shed, right? So I haven't been in the shed for quite some time. I've got one of these, just a master padlock on there, and totally seized up. So trying to use pliers on the key, I should have just tried to pick it. I can pick locks quite well for no, completely other reasons. And anyway, I put the key in, turned it with some pliers, and of course the key snapped off in the lock. Couldn't get it. Trying to saw the lock off. Couldn't do it with a hacksaw because it's a different type of material. Anyway, so crowbarred the latch off and went in the shed. And as you can see from the picture, the shed had well, the roof collapsed a long time ago, and we think that might have been where I was chopping down. There's a large willow tree right at the back of our garden, huge willow tree. Not willow tree, what am I talking about? It's an ash which grows like wildfire. We had it pollarded by some professionals some time ago, some years ago, and it's just grown mental since then. So I've been up there with a ladder and a harness and ropes and everything else and a chainsaw, chopping off big pieces of it. And I think one of the big boughs that I chopped off hit the shed on the top and collapsed the roof. But we also haven't been in the shed as well because there's not really a lot in there that we use. We've got the chicken pen. It's all a bit difficult. Everything's in the way of each other, and we also think foxes are living in the shed too, so we didn't want to disturb the foxes which are living in the shed that's right next to the coop. How nice. We've left the garden over to nature, really. We really have. Anyway, so yeah, shed's kind of collapsed. It needs to come down, so we're going to have to empty it out. There's a couple of things in there. I've got a small inflatable boat and a trolling motor. I've also got a petrol motor as well, all of which I can store down at the boat club for nothing, which is brilliant. Membership's 70 quid a year, so that's cheap as chips, and we can also use them as a hard standing if we wanted to stay in the caravan for, you know, like emergency measures. there's a few things that have to happen in the right order. First of all, we need to rehome our chickens, and then we can clear the garden, get rid of the electric fence, get rid of the coop, and then we can pull the shed down and do all of that. So the order it's got to be in is we get the chickens rehomed. We've got someone who's interested in taking them. We've just been today to check out the area where they're possibly going to be rehomed, and it looks really, really good and fox-proof and everything else, because we want the best for our chickies. So that should be good. So once we get that done, hopefully that will be before the end of next month. Once we've got rid of the chicken coop and pen, then we can clear out our outhouse, because we've got an outhouse, we're end of terrace, so we can clear the outhouse, get some of the stuff from the shed into the outhouse. Now some people might be just already sitting there with their keyboard to go, oh, I don't know how you live like that, or whatever, you know. Well, all I say is, why don't you cry about it? We've never lived a life of all this kind of contemporary lifestyle, minimalist way of living that some people seem to pull off. I don't know how they do it. When we first had kids, we lived in Biggin Hill, and we used to visit families who just had kids as well. So we got to know lots of people at the was it National Childbirth Trust, I think my wife was a member of, and we used to go and do these coffee mornings and things like that. And we'd go, and it'd be different people's houses at different times, so we'd go around to their house. Anyway, they just had a child, literally, and also had other young kids running around. There's nothing, no toys on the floor, not a speck of dust, not a coffee ring, you know, from a mug placed on this counter. Nothing on the side, no paperwork anywhere. It couldn't be more different from what we're like. You know, we've always encouraged our kids to have lots of hobbies, so we've bought lots of things in. There's loads of toys around, lots of stuff, and it's just all over the place. It's all over the place. So yeah, the house is untidy. You know, it's clean. There might be a few cobwebs and stuff like that, but it's clean. We still clean the house, but there's just stuff everywhere, and I'm a terrible hoarder. You know, I love camping, I love trekking, hiking, and stuff like that, and have been doing that for a number of years, and have accrued quite a lot of camping gear, which actually is going to be great, because all I've got to do is bag up all the essential stuff, and we'll have backup for everything. I'm not going to have to purchase anything. When we go and live in the caravan, I've got the lot. I've got all sorts of different cooking methods, loads of different ways of cooking. We've got lots of different sleeping bags. I've got lots of spare tents that we can use. You know, if something happens to the caravan, we have to go and stay in a tent on a site or something like that. I've got spares of all of that. So we're just going to make room for it, really. We'll be able to probably chuck it in the end of where the awning goes, under this seat. Plenty of stuff that we've got that I have held on to. Plus, being a big DIYer, I've always kind of gone, oh, no, keep that electrical cable that's just come off the end of that plug or whatever. Keep that just in case. And there have been several occasions over the years, over the last 20 years that we've lived here, where it's been like, that's really handy that I happen to have that. Yes, I probably could have bought it, but you know what? It didn't cost anything to keep it hanging around. So it has been handy, but I have got way more stuff than I need. I mean, I've got loads of solar equipment, solar cables, solar stuff. You know, so I'll be able to rig up this caravan with solar. And when we move into the French property, or when we buy the French property and do that up, I'll be able to get solar rigged up very, very quickly. And I've got all the gear pretty much, bar maybe a couple of adapters and stuff. So that will be handy. So we're going to keep hold of all of that. So yeah, there's lots of things that have got to happen in sequence, and we're gradually getting there. You know, it's going to be a real big chore. My wife's been clearing out bookshelves. She loves her books. Obviously, being a writer, she absolutely loves her books, and a lot of them she'd probably never read again. And there's a few books that I've got. I'm not as avid reader as my wife, but there's a lot of books I've got from our kind of the old rah-rah multi-level marketing days, you know, self-development, positive thinking books and stuff like that, which funny enough, I have been reading lately to help me deal with some of the flack that I get on this channel. But it's all part of the growth process, you know. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. So yeah, so she's getting rid of some books, like selling them. She's got some app that she can scan a load in, fill up a box, and then they come and pick them up with DPD, and then off it goes, and then they pay a pittance for it, and I'm sure they make a profit and whatever. But it's, you know, it's a service, and it gets rid of some of the books, saves going to boot fairs and all that sort of stuff. Although that is something we're doing as well. as well as eBay. So that is that. Now I can't cover everything. I'm not going to cover everything each time in the video, because all my other videos explain things about budgeting and what we're doing and everything else. So I suppose this is really for people who are kind of already following the channel. So a couple of big updates. First of all, I've just hit 4,000 subscribers in the channel, so I must be doing something that resonates. So thank you so much to everybody who subscribed from watching our recent videos. I really do appreciate that, and thanks also to Defeffel blog for your ongoing amazing support. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your super thanks the other day, and also to Pete T C5T CST for your £10 super thanks after the last video. I really appreciate that too. Thank you so much for your support. So the updates are, first one is let's go with this one first. So the transfer of my pension that was with my other pension provider, which I've been trying to transfer over to my SIP, should be going. It's not there yet. All right, when I see the figures in there in the SIP, then I'll be happy. However, I've had a letter or an email with a PDF letter saying it's been done, we've sent the transfer, here's the amount. It was 72,900 and something, so 73,000, just short of, about 950, so say 73 grand is being sent over to my HL SIP, which will join my now nearly 87,000 in the SIP. So we're looking at about 160,000 now. So it's gone up 10 grand since I've been making these videos. 10 grand gain is not bad, so that's good. Let's hope that continues. Now the other update, and I'm going to do a bit more of an in-depth video on this because I'm running out of time now, is the French visa. So we were looking at the visa issue around income, and they require something like 3,600 euros for a couple per month to show that you've got that as either an income, but if you're going to use savings to do it, which is what we were planning on doing, then you've got to have 2 to 3 times that unofficially in the bank to demonstrate that you can afford that. That might be a bit of a problem for us. We're looking at sort of 30,000-40,000, 2 to 3 times that. Well, that's 120 grand. That's pretty much all of our pot, and it can't be in stocks and shares. So, which is not really what we were planning. So then we'd be falling onto the equity of the property. I don't know, it could cause a problem. So we thought, okay, well, that's fine. Nothing's to stop us buying a property in France. We can buy a property, you don't have to be resident there. Buy a property, stay there for 3 months, buy the property, come back to the UK for 3 months, and then go back down for 3 months, and then just rinse and repeat, keep doing that. So we'd go back and forth every 3 months, every 90 days, as part of the short-term stay visa waiver that we have with the Schengen areas. So there is another option that I've just basically created an account on the France government website to look into the visa applications, and there is another option which means we could potentially stay up to 9 months at a time if we play it right, all legit and legal. Just it's a bit of you've got to get the timing right, and there's a bit of paperwork involved, but it doesn't necessarily require that kind of income proof. It just requires a couple of other bits of paperwork, which I think we'll be able to get around fairly easily. So that's the possible plan, and that's really good news for us, because that means we could stay in France for up to 90 days at a time, come back for 3 months, and then go back for another 90 days, 9 months. So I'll update on that. I'll do a full video on that when I know more about it, and then obviously keep you posted. And my voice is now running out, so in the meantime, appreciate you all watching. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your comments, and I look forward to seeing you soon.